we are good to go. So I would like to introduce, although it sounds like most of you already know, Dr. Serne, and she's the faculty program coordinator for master's program. And go ahead and take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, Dawn. It's really fun to see some alumni here, from alumni I know from the last 8 or 9 years, and an alumni that were here before me. So that's cool, and other people that are interested on doing this without even having had the experience of it here at Central. So I am Dr. Jennifer Serne, like Dawn introduced. I do run the master's program. We're really, really excited to get this program back up and running. It has been on hiatus for a few years, but we are doing it. We are running a cohort. We have some admits now. We're really excited about it. I have worked on the curriculum a little bit over the last few years to really bring it to a place where the industry helped lead that, and some really big thought leaders in how safety has evolved and how safety is being done today. Um, so, so let's talk about why this program is discussing something that really matters. It's a leadership based program. So what I did when I took the curriculum is I did talk to a lot of people who are at the director level or above, CEOs, people who are leading safety at numerous organizations in a lot of different industries, because I wanted to capture a wide variety of perspectives on this. And then I also worked with people who are doing research and are kind of helping drive that shift from how safety used to be looked at in how it's being done now across organizations and in general across every level of safety, from people who are at the coordinator level, like just right out of an undergrad program, and safety specialists, all the way up to the C-suite and directors and VPs of safety. There's a lot of growth in this industry right now. So this is a really great industry, if you're not already in it, to jump in, because there's a lot of job opportunities. And we know that we're going to see what they call like the silver tsunami, where we're going to have a lot of retirement at the top level across all industries, including safety. So we need to get some people trained up to take those leadership roles, right? And that's a huge initiative of mine. I love my undergrad students, and I have a great time with them, but I got to start feeling from the bottom up, but we got to get some people in the top now too, because we are kind of seeing this shift where we're going to be losing some leadership and some of that knowledge now. So hopefully this has been kind of structured to help people top up their skills and get there and get ready for that and get ready for the next phase of their career. Um, Safety has changed a lot, the way that we do this. Organizations look at this a little bit differently than they used to. So we're not as focused on compliance anymore. Compliance is obviously very important. We have to follow the regulations. Compliance definitely is still a part of this, but we are now looking at being more proactive as opposed to reactive. So instead of just worrying about safety when something bad happens, we are more focused on studying how work gets done every single day and how that gets done safely, and learning from workers who are experts, and understanding proactive risk management. Like, how do we put things in place and identify risks before they cause any issues in our organization? There's a really big emphasis these days on data-driven, informed decision making that has data behind it, because we have a lot more tools now at our disposal to get a large amount of data. But what do you do with that? You're able to pull all kinds of really robust and huge data sets out of your organization, but what does that mean? How do you make meaning out of that, and how do you use that to drive what you do to maintain safety and increase safety, and get that safety culture where it should be, a nice, proactive, generative safety culture that is really making it happen in an organization. So we learn a lot about that. Safety professionals these days too, we're not just walking around with a clipboard. When I started 30 years ago or so, that is what we did. I had a clipboard, I had a hard hat. I would go out on sites, I would stand behind equipment and like watch what workers were doing. I would say it wasn't terribly effective. One thing I noticed that workers did is they would have like a secret signal or like a bird call whenever they would see the safety person coming, right? We've moved away from that. As safety professionals now, we are part of the organization working in step with workers, and we are helping that safety from the ground level all the way up to the top. So we are way more influential in an organization than we used to be. We're not just siloed. and just kind of sneaking up on workers and taking notes and just looking at paperwork and things like that. We really are in a position where we can influence strategy and culture, and we can really get involved in an organization overall holistically. And so that's really exciting to me, but there are some skill sets that really do help with that. And so this program is meant to build on those skill sets to kind of go with where safety has gone over the last 10, 15 years, which is really exciting to see that shift. Um, so I'm here to tell you about the program. And this is a very basic slide with probably some of the most information and most important information, but I am really curious what everybody here is looking for. We have a relatively small group, so I would be interested if you're willing to either, speak up because there's not too many of us in here, or type in the chat. So I can tailor, this information a little bit to what you are interested in. And if you're just here to see me because it's been a few years, that's cool too. I love it. I love repeat customers, and hanging out with my alumni. See, I think Dawn can see the chat. Let me know if anybody has any specific. I'm just kind of curious what piqued people's interest to come to something like this in the evening, right?
I mean, if I I can chime in and,
Yeah, that'd be
um,
great.
so, I mean, I'm in year 3. I work for the Spokane colleges as one of their safety professionals. So I guess I'm still getting more technical knowledge. So right now I'm pursuing the ASP. So that's been a lot of technical information. So if this is more leadership based, then that'd be great. Can kind of get a whole, like, 2 different approaches to safety. And so, I mean, I I guess I'm here to see what, all the program has to offer. But if you said it's more leadership and strategy and learning how to run a safety program, then I think that'd be great.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. This is the next step, right? So in undergrad, you learn all the tech stuff and you get all that under your belt, and then you can kind of top up some other skills. So yeah, this would probably be a great vehicle to get you there. I have a background in academic safety too. I was the director of research safety at WSU before I started this. So that's cool. That's a neat research, and how universities operate is really a
Yeah.
all neat thing to do.
Yeah, it's not where I thought it'd end up, but it's been very fun, so.
That's really awesome.
Right. Okay, we have Ken put in the chat, major priority is learning applicable practical skills and putting coursework into my demanding travel heavy full-time job schedule.
Awesome. Yeah. No, those are very important things, and this program is designed for working professionals. Um, I have not had a master's student out of this program who had a lot of issues at all with managing their workload as a full-time worker, and this program. And so this program is structured that way. So, because it is 100% online, so you don't have to come to a specific place, and also it's asynchronous. So that means we don't have specific meeting times, right? So you don't have to rearrange your schedule. Doesn't matter what time zone you're in. There isn't a specific time to show up to class. And so that makes it really easy to not have conflicts with your actual real job, right? Which, as working professionals, we like to keep our jobs and not have to take time off to continue our education, right? So yeah, I think that's a really important feature of this program for sure. So it is designed for working professionals. Like I said, usually I haven't had students in the past say that it was just an enormous amount of workload that they weren't able to keep their job, and they were able to get everything they needed to do for that done. And then this was just kind of, like what they did in the other times, right? It's a definitely takes a commitment. So I don't want to mislead people and be like, oh yeah, just a few hours a week, because it is graduate school. But definitely it is balanced. I believe you only take 2 classes a quarter. So it's not meant to be overloading. The cohort model is kind of fun. So even though we're not in a place and time together as a cohort in person, we don't have students coming and going. We are all going to go through this together as a group, which helps build, some relationships, and also those professional connections, which this industry, that's everything. It's huge to know people someone who works over here and someone who works over here, and you can call on each other when you run into different and interesting safety things in the future. Maybe you want to move into a different position, different part of the world, right? It's great to have that network, and that's one reason why the cohort model, I think, is a really good way to structure that. Um, it also, like, we talked about, this is what we are focusing on in this program, is leadership and risk management and strategy. So really, how do you get safety from bottom down, where the workers are doing the work, and get that buy-in for what you need from the C-suite and down. And so a lot of this has been structured to kind of help people get into like that middle area where, once you're in that middle area, you're going to be building your experience to get up there, to get up to the VP and the C-suite and all that. But you got to get into those director and those officer and those leadership roles. And this is what that is meant to do. And it's structured in a way where it's going to bring a lot of value to an organization, and they're going to be able to see that too. So some of the things that you'll learn to that end, we're going to work on developing skills in a lot of areas, but these are some of the ones that I think are very pertinent to what we do as leaders in safety. So we're going to learn some more advanced ways to do hazard analysis and risk assessment. And we're going to use some very research and engineering based processes to do that. We're going to learn a lot about prevention through design and systems thinking and system safety. We are going to look at risk management and get a deep dive on that. We've got a couple classes on that. We're going to look at safety leadership and organizational culture. So this is the big time, the leadership part here. So we're going to learn about, how do you lead? How do you lead in difficult situations? How do you manage change? How do you manage it when you have a bunch of change happening at one time? How do you structure a program? What do you need? How do you run a budget? Just these more practical things, and then these leadership skills that you need in order to be somebody who is leading a program, probably having some staff and just managing all of that, in your position. We're going to look at data-driven decision-making, because that's huge now. Like I said, you can get all this data, but what do you do with it? And what does it mean? And what is pertinent to you? And how do you make decisions based off of what you're seeing in data? And because we moved in this field from more of a reactive um, way of looking at this, where we loved accident data. Boy, we love, let's count up how many injuries we've had and how many people got hurt and all that. And it's still a very important thing to track, but we have ways to look at what we call leading indicators now, not just lagging stuff. And so balancing that, and how do you get those leading indicators, and how do you make sense of some of that data? Because it's a little bit harder than things like accident rates and time away and the TRIR that we've used in the industry for a long time. Some of these models are a little more complicated. And so how do you integrate those into a system to help drive culture and to sell what you need for resources for safety, right? To the people who are holding the purse strings and have that money. How do you use this data to help them understand why there's a return on investment for what you're asking to do? We're going to look at human organizational performance. That is a lot of what my research area is. That is understanding the variability within our world, looking at everything from a systems point of view, where everything is coupled with other pieces of the organization, and there are reverberations in a system when things change in one area. Often there's downstream changes there, and understanding that variability, because there's day-to-day variability in an organization. And how do we structure our systems to be able to uh, allow for that variability? Because sometimes that's innovation and it's really good stuff. Sometimes it's loss of performance, and that's not so good, right? And so how do we cushion that? How do we have this resiliency within our organizations? Because we know that things aren't always going to go perfectly. But we also know that if you allow people to have some adaptability, they'll come up with a better way to do their job. And how do we capture that data, and how do we work with them? And how do we explain that variability, and how do we drive both the humans, which are all of our workers and ourselves in an organization, and the organization itself as a larger organism? How do we drive that performance, and how do we manage that? And then we're going to look at communication and safety program management. So obviously communication is key here. Safety really is about relationships. So we're going to unpack some of that from a leadership point of view. How do you communicate with the C-suite to get buy-in for what you need? How do you communicate to workers to maybe, roll out a new program that you would really like them to participate and help you with, right? We're going to look at program management, because that's probably what in that middle area of safety you'll end up doing a lot of, and program development too. So how do you introduce, ergonomics into a program? How do you, touch up a safety program, make sure that you're meeting compliance, but we always want to try to shoot for more than compliance, right? So that we can be the most protective and the most helpful to our workers every day, so they can get their work done with all of that variability that we have in our system. And how do we do that? And so that's one of the other things that we focus on in this program. The career outcomes. So, as I've been saying, this really is meant to take, someone who has been working in safety. It doesn't matter what your degree is, but maybe you found yourself in a role that is related to safety. And safety, there's a lot of research articles out there. This always is interesting to me. What do safety professionals do? No, we don't really know because we do everything, right? I mean, we get the environmental stuff, we get the insurance stuff, we get the risk stuff, we get the hazardous material stuff and the ergonomic stuff, and it's so much. So when I say this is meant for people that have experience in safety, well, the safety encompasses a lot of things. So it's very broad. Um, but there's so many roles within all of those different pieces, right? And so if you have had some experience working in that role, in one of those roles, something that is related to safety, this helps you kind of get the next level of skills and knowledge that you need to kind of move up from a more entry level position. And so we have people that end up being, so these are just some of the titles that are common for our graduates. So senior risk manager, so they've moved up the chain in risk management. Environmental health and safety director, so moving into a director role. Managers, leaders, there's a lot of different ways to name it. Corporate safety leader, but basically it is, you get your entry position after you first get out of school or first find yourself in safety, and this is having an impact at a higher level in your organization for safety. Okay. So it's taking you to the next level basically. Obviously there's a pay differential here, as you can imagine, because you are in a more leadership based role. So there's some compensation that comes with that, which is also a pretty big selling point for taking on something like this. Um, the other thing is to structure for. So one is if you have some experience in safety career-wise and you wanna move up in your role, right? Also, maybe you have a bachelor's degree in safety and you didn't end up going into it, and you wanna maybe jump back in, or maybe safety is kinda newer to you, and this is a good way to top up some skills for someone like that too. So it's really relatively broad. We aren't looking at only people who graduated from, a program in safety. We're not looking for somebody who has just only worked in safety. We're looking for people who are interested in this and want to go at this from kind of the newer way of looking at things and build their leadership potential here. One thing that helps with that is we are what's known as a qualified academic program, which means you don't have to take the associate safety professional exam if you graduate from this program to get your CSP. When you graduate from this program, you get what we call the graduate safety um, practitioner, which is equivalent to the associate safety professional. So you just have to get your experience years in there. And some people might actually already have that if they're coming in from industry, and then you can take your CSP. So it cuts out that other test, and that's the hard test, by the way. Well, that's what I've been told. It's the technical test, right? So you get out of this program, you've got that part covered, and you're pretty well on your way to sitting and trying to get your CSP. So that's one of the advantages that will help your career too. Is we are trying to foster those certifications that really do mean a lot in this field from BCSP. So next steps, if this sounds enticing to you, if you're interested and you think you'd like to pursue this more, we do have some kind of limited time bonuses right now. Well, we have an application fee, all colleges do, but right now, up until July 1st, if you are interested in applying, we are going to waive that fee. We have a process for that. And so that's nice. It saves you some money there. We also have a program website and a frequently asked questions available that you can refer to at any time. And we definitely welcome questions about fit and career goals. So if you're not sure and you're thinking, well, I don't know if my background or my education or where I want to go in my career from here, if this is really the right program for me, I would love to have a conversation with you about it. I've been in this field for a long time. I've mentored a lot of students at this point in both graduate and undergraduate, and I know where people kind of end up, and I have an idea for how this might help. And also, I think people who know me know that I'm pretty honest too. So if I think like it's not a fit and you're not gonna like it, don't worry. I'm not a salesperson. So, come talk to me about it. Let me know if you're worried that this just may not be the right fit for you, if you're worried that, we may not um want to take you out as a student because you have a different background or something. I want people who are passionate about this and curious. Curiosity is huge to me. So, let me know and maybe we can sit down and kind of hash some things out and see where it goes. But we also have time now for the Q&A. So if there are any burning questions or anything that comes up right now, let's go ahead and address that.
Okay, so we have, you may go over this later, but I'm curious about what the class schedule looks like. Are certain classes only offered in fall? Can you take one class at a time?
So, we do have a set schedule. We are just about to put the schedule online, by the way. I talked to the website people about that today. Um, it is typically 2 classes a quarter. We're a quarter school, which is kind of interesting as opposed to semesters. So we have, instead of 2 big semesters, we have it split up into 3 quarters. And so you will take 2 classes a quarter until your last quarter, where we know you're trying to put your project together and you're probably ready to move on. And we know there's senioritis. So we have one class where you're just finishing up your capstone project that quarter. But all the other quarters, you take 2 classes. And so it should take you 2 years, like a relatively standard master's degree. So 2 years to finish all of the courses. You could take 1 class a quarter. That would not be a problem, but it would extend your graduation time because you would have to take those classes the next year. So, but it's definitely doable. We do not teach every class every quarter, so you can pick and choose. There is a set schedule. Um, some of the classes are taught every year, though, so there is some flexibility in that. So even though it's a 2-year program, and we run 1 cohort every 2 years right now as well. So, people who come in this cohort, they will take their 2 years, and we won't run another cohort, during that time, and then we'll start up a new one afterwards. But some of these programs, or some of these courses are offered every year. So you do have a little bit of flexibility to kind of tease the schedule a little bit, but it's not 100% that you choose your own adventure.
Great, thank you. All right, next one is, if we have completed our GSP from the bachelor's program, does this program contribute to getting the CSP?
So, not directly, because you've already met the education requirements for the CSP, right? What you need is, you will need to get those years of experience in the field. That's what they're going to ask for. But I would say that many of the things we study here are going to be things that you're going to be asked about on the CSP, because the ASP, the first part of that exam is the technical things. And then the second part is a lot of leadership stuff, a lot of management stuff, things like that. So it'll help you prepare for it. But if you are graduated from a safety bachelor's and you have the GSP already, then you've already met the requirements education wise to sit for the CSP. You just got to get those years of experience.
Okay, next one. Is the capstone project essentially a thesis project? If so, do we get to select the topic, subject to approval, of course?
So it is not actually directly a thesis. That is because it's not necessarily a full on academic program. We're not preparing you for a PhD. It can be, because you can select to do a thesis with faculty here. There is a little bit of additional cost to do that, because you have to take an extra class for a continuation. But what most people want, because this is a professional degree, because they are trying to get out and go into the profession, is to do a capstone project. And so it is not the same level of lift, I would say, as a thesis project is. You're not trying to get published. You don't have to do the same level of research. And absolutely, you choose your topic, and we find faculty to work with you on that topic. And so you absolutely have total control over it. And people have done different things over the years in this program. People have done something at their own organization, which can be really great to do that organizational research, because that's really what we are trying to teach you with the research methods class and things. Anyways, because we want people out in the field who know how to get good data and understand what validity of data is, and the different methodologies to get data, and how to analyze that data and make sense of it, right? And so the organizational research part can be really, really useful when you get out there. So you can do organizational research in your own organization. We can hook people up with data sets and other organizations to work with. We can do straight up academic research as well, especially because I have a background in that, and so that's something that I can do with research as well. I can do thesis. So it's kind of up to you in a way. The thesis selection is relatively rare because usually people who want to go on and get a PhD. And definitely, I have one, and I'm more than happy to help someone with that. But it's a lot of work, right? It's a little bit more work. The project is a couple classes, and it's really fun to see people go out and get creative about what they're interested in studying. I've had so many different really interesting ones over the years. Everything from safety and maker spaces, which I didn't even know what maker spaces were until someone did this project. And it was pretty interesting. You see how kind of fast and loose some of these places run for the community. They're giving people access to like welding equipment and saws and stuff. And it's just like, wow, that's a little frightening. I had another really interesting one about just like the attitudes with iron workers and psychological safety, which was pretty unique because it's such a unique group of workers to study, and some of the psychological attitudes that seem to be fostered in that culture. There's a lot. And so students really study a huge variety of things. And it's kind of like whatever you're passionate about, actually. And one thing that I really love is research and student research. So one of my favorite things is take someone's idea and figure out how can we study that? How can we get data? How can we make meaning out of it? And what can we do? What can we figure out here? So yeah, I always get very excited about the capstone projects, but you do have a choice to do a thesis or you can do the capstone.
Great, thank you. All right, next question is, does the program accept the state tuition waiver? Which, yes, we do. So if you are a state of employee, Washington state employee, we do accept tuition waivers. And then there was a additional question tagged on to that one. Is there a limit to the number of applicants into the program? Because the state tuition waiver only lets you register on the third day of class if class is not full. But for this program, that's not an issue because it's a cohort program. So if you get into the cohort, you just don't need to worry about it. You already have a reserved seat.
Absolutely. And I've had a number of students on those vouchers, and I just add them to the learning management system early. So basically, they're in the class the same day as everybody else. They just have to let me know, because the school won't technically register them. And so I'm very used to that process. And so, yeah, that's no problem at all. And no, you will not, the class will not get filled and you will not be able to get it. You don't need to worry about that.
Okay, so I am bringing up the Safety and Health Management website page, and I will put that link in the chat once I'm out of my share screen here. And from here, you can go to the accepting applications, and if you click on here, it will take you to the graduate school, and then you'll be able to do your application from there. Here, you'll be able to see the list of courses if you just want to skim those again. This is just our information session. I will be posting the video link here too. I will email it out to everyone, but in case there's something that you want to listen to again or look at her slides. And then here in the FAQ, we have a lot of information. So you're welcome to kind of peruse through this, and you may find some other information. If you are a state employee, you can link to the tuition waiver form if you need access to that. Gives you a little bit of background. What will you learn? We've covered a lot of this in the session, but in case there's anything that you're looking at, how long will the fee waiver last? Through July 1st. After that, it is a $75 fee to apply. So apply early, even if you're not sure. And that's something that we recommend, is even if you're a little bit on the fence, it's free right now. So go ahead and put your application in, and you can work with Dr. Serne if you have questions and kind of want to get a feel, because she'll have all of your information, your resume and what you've been doing and your transcripts from what you did before. And then she'll be able to have a good conversation with you, and you can help kind of decide if it's a good program for you to move forward on. So would highly recommend that while you have that opportunity. Will there be opportunities to connect in person? Do you want to take a brief moment for that?
Yes, there will be. So, probably towards the beginning or middle of September. So we start school late in September as a quarter school, but in the time frame right before that, I do plan on having an in-person event for everybody who is going to join the cohort. Obviously, it is completely optional, but it will be available, and I think it'd be really fun to meet people face and face. And kind of get to know each other that way a little bit as well. And so I will be hosting an event to allow us to do that. So, I think The planning of that will come later, but definitely we will be doing that. And hopefully I'll give us an opportunity to put a name to a face and just kind of hang out for a little bit, which I think will be fun.
And I'm sure we could probably find a way to Zoom people in that aren't able to
Oh,
travel
absolutely.
over and
We can too. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can too. Yep.
Sounds good. Okay, what do I need to have ready to apply? Official transcripts, unless you are a CWU alumni, you do not need to send your transcripts because we already have them. A statement of educational and professional objectives, pretty standard resume, and one letter of recommendation. And then this is where it gets a little tricky, the fee waiver. So you'll have to bear with us. Um, right now, you would apply on the Graduate Studies website. You complete the program application, but you do not pay the fee or actually submit the application. You're going to save and exit it, do not submit, and then send an email to masters@cwu.edu requesting that your application be submitted with the SHM fee waiver. Then they will submit for you. They are able to clear the fee on the back end, and then they will submit it for you. So that's a little tricky. What makes it even more tricky is that starting sometime in April, they are completely changing operating systems that they're using. So then it will be a different process. So we will keep this updated when things change. So if you're getting ready to apply, you can just jump into the FAQ and say, okay, well, how do I do it now? And then hopefully we don't have any bumps. But if you run into any issues with the fee waiver, feel free to reach out and we will help you with that as well. And then let's see. I thought
And that fee waiver is for the application fee too, not the state tuition waiver. That's an easier.
right. That's a whole different thing. And that form, there's a link for that form here for doing that. I think that is it on there. Let me see. It says, can you please share a general roadmap for how this program would look utilizing the tuition waiver?
So the majority of the quarters are going to be 8 credits. That's pretty typical. Okay, so there'd be a couple that wouldn't be covered. If you wanted to make sure you got everything covered and take longer, you absolutely can do that because you could take one class at a time. It breaks up the cohort a little bit, but that's not the end of the world, right? And from a financial standpoint, I get it. And so, yeah, if it won't cover the whole thing, some of the quarters will be pretty close, but most of them will be about 8 credits.
I believe that if you chose the thesis option,
Yes.
that is not covered. Do you know if the capstone courses are covered?
As far as I know, capstone is covered. It's just a regular 500 level or 600 level class. I've never had anyone tell me it's not covered, but you are correct that if you choose the thesis option, yes, there are additional costs with that. And so, that really is for somebody who, if you want to publish, we can publish without a thesis. Trust me, I publish all the time. I love publishing with students. But if you are looking to go on to a PhD, you probably will need a thesis. Although there's some of the safety program PhDs don't actually require one too. So I would check out what program that you are aiming for before you make that decision and that commitment, right? Because we do teach pretty robust research classes here, even for a program that's not doing a thesis. So, and absolutely, you can email me to set up an appointment to talk more about the program. I absolutely would love to talk to people about it. Absolutely, feel free to contact me. And it's next week is finals, and so I will probably have actually quite a bit of open time. After that is spring break, but then I will be back the week after that, and I will have some. Definitely, we can make time. Even in the evenings, I'm fine with that too. I'm usually here anyway, so it's all good. Well, I really appreciate you all hanging out with me, and it's great to see all you that I had as undergrad students too. It's kind of fun. It's like a reunion from various years. So, keep in touch and thank you so much. And yeah, please let me know if you have questions or want to discuss further because I'd be very happy to.